Breaking news coming in. This is very significant, Gaurav. Stay with us for a moment. AFP, International Wire Service, is reporting that President Vladimir Putin has put Russia's nuclear forces on a state of combat readiness. That's the highest level of combat readiness. The information that we've got is that the Ministry of Defense is transferring the strategic missile forces. This is not just nuclear weapons, but also hypersonic missiles to a special mode of combat duty. This is the highest form of combat readiness for these troops. Now, Gaurav, on day 4, suddenly, just the word end being uttered or thought about by President Putin, it seems he's getting very desperate very quickly. This battle could be entering a dangerous new zone.
This battle is entering a very dangerous new zone. On ground zero, we are being told that tonight and the next 24 to 48 hours will be very crucial for the capital, Kiev. There is a big thrust that is feared from the north, from the Belarus side. Incidentally, that is where the strategic forces also carried out a very major exercise and firepower demonstration some time back. So there was a demonstration that was carried out. There was a huge exercise that was carried out, and that is where these forces have been put on alert. So it does show that the aim to achieve the desperation to achieve the aim appears to be now appearing and very, very clearly, Rahul, in Russia and Ukraine, especially Kiev, is on tenterhooks. Just look all around me. This is such a bustling city of 2.5 million people and not a soul in sight. Everyone indoors, everyone locked up, or everyone vacating the cities and going to safer places, Rahul.
You know, when Ukraine used to have nuclear missiles when it became an independent country after the disintegration of the Soviet Union, but it gave it up. It gave its nuclear arsenal up because it thought that they weren't required, and it had protection from Russia, it had protection from NATO as well. Now, this very spectre of nuclear deterrence forces being readied in the face of Western hostility, according to Putin, which is crazy because Putin's the guy who's gone in and attacked Ukraine, and now he's citing Western hostility to explain why he wants these nuclear forces in a state of readiness. This is huge. It's a big story. This doesn't mean that he actually intends to use any of these nuclear missiles, nuclear weapons or hypersonic missiles. What it means essentially is he's sending a message. He is really ratcheting up the tension one notch further by saying, unless you comply with what I want, the nuclear option is on the table. He's cuckoo. There's no doubt about it, because since the time of the COVID pandemic, he's been keeping people away from him. He's very rarely meeting with even his close circles. When you see some of the pictures of some of the European leaders who went recently as part of the peace talks, there was a huge table, Putin sitting on the one side, the leaders who came from Europe, from France and Germany, sitting quite on the other, and he's been cut off from human contact, and therefore he hasn't had as active a circle of people telling him the reality. And very often, and we saw this even earlier with Joseph Stalin, Gaurav, just getting what you want to hear as opposed to the real picture of the situation on the ground. He's desperate. He's very ambitious. He thinks of himself as the modern day Tsar. Is Putin getting desperate?
Rahul, it's early days yet. It's day 4 just as yet. So we will have to wait and watch how this pans out, because specialized operations have been undertaken so far, and after the initial shock and awe, there wasn't the kind of campaign that was followed up. It's not as if the Americans were going into Iraq or the Americans were going into Afghanistan. It's very different from that. The Russians have gone in, they've weakened President Zelensky's hold. Emotionally, there's a major hold, but how long can the army hold on is the big issue. So it makes a lot of media points with MPs and film stars and models holding on to to AK-47s, but in the face of Russian assault, how much will that work? But there are also videos being put out that the Russian tanks have come in and they've run out of gas, and the Russian soldiers have run out of food, and that the teeth are in, the tail hasn't fetched up in terms of logistics support. All those videos are going viral here in Kiev and across Ukraine. Our local friends share this. But is this a sign of desperation or ill thought out strategy? Perhaps not just as yet, considering they've been planning for it for a very long time, especially when everyone thought that the attack will come in from the east, from Donetsk and Luhansk, and that is where majority of the forces went. The attack actually came from the north and the south, and virtually unchallenged from Belarus to Chernobyl, and from the Black Sea, from Crimea all the way to Odessa, and that's completely in their control. So major pockets of this country already in the hands of the Russians. Kharkiv, the second biggest city, the seesaw battle is on, and Kiev is on edge. So perhaps not desperation just as yet, but it would be clearer in the next 24 to 48 hours. The N word is extremely scary. And is that an effort to scare the West, tell them that holding on to President Zelensky is not worth it? And if they want to avoid it, then they need to get rid of Zelensky, because this is more also about, as far as President Putin is concerned, a regime change and demilitarization of the country. Regime change happens, most of his aim has been achieved then, Rahul.